What's going on, Kim?
Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Happy Wednesday. How's your week been?
Crazy busy as always. I feel like it's like you blink your eye and it's like another week and we're back again. So, hi everyone. Hi everyone in
Back
the chat
again.
and welcome.
So we've got a interesting show. We've got a really cool guest that I'm excited to talk to today. Kim, let's just jump right into the episode. But first, we got a sponsor that we got to give a shout out to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are so proud to have Solo as a sponsor of our Money Hungry show today. So, I don't know about you, Zach, but I used to really struggle when switching between multiple apps and understanding how much I made and keeping track of all my work related expenses. And we can't forget the miles. Luckily for us, today's Money Hungry sponsor, Solo, can help other gig workers experiencing this issue manage their business better. With Solo's help, I now easily track all my earnings and miles information all in one place. Solo makes it easy to track your income, expenses, and mileage in one central location, no matter how many apps you're working. Solo's easy to use interface and seamless automatic income and mileage tracking makes it the best choice for gig workers who are looking for better ways to stay in control of their business and spend more time earning money. Solo also offers a smart schedule feature that shows you the best jobs to work at any hour of the day in your city and will even guarantee that you'll never miss less than what they are predict. If you do, they'll pay you the difference, which I think is pretty awesome. Over 150,000 workers in the US are taking advantage of Solo's industry leading features. RideShare Guy even ranks Solo the number one mileage tracker of 2023. So you know it's definitely going to be a game changer. Download Solo today and unlock the full experience by choosing the subscription tier that works best for you. So thank you so much, Solo, for being today's sponsor of Money Hungry.
Thank you to Solo. The link is in the description. Definitely check it out if you haven't done so. So, Kim, you and I are going to be taking a trip in about a week.
Yeah.
And we actually get to meet our special guest in person. Can we actually before we do that, we've got a slide for him.
Oh, okay.
We always forget that. Let's go ahead and do
We
that.
do always forget that. Dun, dun, dun.
So we have Hannibal today. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Talk about these events.
Hello,
what's going on, Hannibal?
Hey, the Money Hungry crew. What's going on, Zach? What's going on, Kim? Appreciate you guys inviting me on. Checking out, Zach. Your edits are fire. Your YouTube channel, the stuff that you do is really, really cool. Especially as an editor, you know how much effort it takes to make something come together and be as cool as you have it. So appreciate that. And Kim, I think I know you for years now, right? I mean, you've been on my channel.
We're long lost family at this point, Hannibal.
And considering, I'm in Brooklyn, she's in Jersey, we could visit. We just haven't done that. So it's great that we'll be hanging out together in Denver for the gig conference and stuff. So it's amazing. Seeing what you have been doing, Kim, for years now. So I'm proud of what you have done. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah.
We're going to get into your channel, but before we even do, Hannibal is, God, he's such a fantastic content creator. So if you haven't checked out his channel, his link is in the description of this video. You need to check out, but we're going to get into his channel in a little bit, but we're going to talk about Colorado just for a little bit before we do. So if you guys haven't heard, GigCon is coming up so quickly. It is next Friday. I can't believe it's next Friday already. It's the 4th. And then on the 5th is the Para Rodeo Town Hall. So it's a weekend jam-packed in Denver, Colorado. So Hannibal, why don't you talk about GigCon for a little bit so everybody knows if they're in Colorado or if they're planning on coming to definitely sign up?
Well, Pedro and Steve have done a lot of good work putting this stuff together where you're bringing gig workers, you're bringing in companies. So, Solo, how awesome Solo is, Move, Stuvo, a lot of companies that are here to help gig workers. they're putting this event together to have gig workers come in, network, talk, communicate, kind of relate with each other, because that's the one thing that sometimes when you're in your car by yourself, you just, even online talking and kind of getting that kind of relatability coming in. It's really cool to kind of, if you are in that area, to hang out with us. We'll be in the courtyard by the Marriott Cherry Creek. It's I think 11 to 4. Have you ever been? I've been to the other GinCon in St. Louis, or even with Herbivore, the RideShare Guy. You want to come to this kind of events. You learn, you talk, you relate, you learn about companies. Obviously, it's gonna be a lot of content creators going to be there. It's going to be a really cool experience, and it's gonna be free food, and it's giveaways, and all types of stuff. So people like free stuff. I love free stuff. Free food, free drinks. It's going to be a fantastic event. And then Saturday with Steve is going to be amazing. I mean, these guys are putting a lot of effort to make a really cool experience for you guys. So if you are available, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, definitely. And the one on Saturday with Steve, like, he has organized one heck of, both of these guys, first of all, have organized 2 days worth of one heck of event. But on Saturday, Steve has somehow managed to get Stephanie Vigil, who was a representative in Colorado, and who tried to actually pass a gig workers bill. And it's going to be really interesting because she was a gig worker herself and then got into politics. So,
Yeah.
it's going to be a really great event to really form the shape of the gig economy going in the future with politics. So I think it's actually going to be a really cool event as well. So jam-packed weekend full of content creators and learning and just hanging out and having some fun.
Definitely.
It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. So let's jump into our first story here, Kim. I've made it no secret that I'm not a fan of the idea of food delivery robots. Do we have that slide?
Yep.
So these things are still running into problems, and they're being implemented. Uber Eats has purchased 2,000 of these so far, and there might be more on the way. But one lady recently detailed her experiences with them, and she wanted to share her experience with the world. So she made this video that we would like to play.
Let's see.
Here on Uber Eats, and they literally told me a robot has your order. So I'm out here waiting for the robot to deliver my food. So guys, I think the robot is glitching. Probably someone tried to touch it or something, because it was supposed to be here like 3 minutes ago, and now the time just keeps on adding up. Okay, y'all, so here's my robot. What happened to you today? You're late. Okay. All right. So I need to use my phone to open her up. See, that's my name. So it's open now. I just gotta yank it out. Take my order. Yeah, so now I have my order. I need to get out of the way. Thank you. Bye. Why are you standing there like that? Guys, she's still here. Oh, and off she goes. Goodbye.
I just love her. She so chipper. So that order ended up being 30 minutes late. So somebody maybe tried to like tip the thing over, or it could have had an obstacle that it didn't know how to deal with. Hannibal, you're in New York City. Do you see these things around?
No.
Okay.
It's probably not possible. Right.
I'm like, I
maybe
can't even imagine them in New York City.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. It has to be in a very controlled environment. So it would have to be in some kind of college campus, but at NYU, that's not possible. So no, we do not have those yet.
So do you guys foresee this being a good thing or a bad thing overall for the consumers and the drivers?
I think there needs to be a lot of kinks worked out before it gets rolled out to many places. And I don't know whether you guys, I know Hannibal and I have discussed this before, but if you go into TikTok and just like search like delivery robots, like there are so many TikTok videos, and they're pretty darn funny, of people like trying to help these robots because they're stuck on a curb, or like they're like half on, half off, and they can't get out. And that's probably why this one was delayed 30 minutes, because they were stuck on a curb somewhere, or they go through crime scenes, you know.
They get hit by trains, they go through crime scenes, get stuck on curbs, get pissed on by dogs. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that they're having problems still. I do not like these beady-eyed little robot bastards. So, you know, the longer that they take to fully implement these things, I think the better for drivers. But to me, it sounded like this lady was pretty surprised that she was getting a robot instead of a human driver. So I'm curious to know, if she didn't have that choice, what prompted the app to dispatch a robot instead of a human driver.
And if she tipped, where did tip go? Like, where's the tip? Like, did you know what I mean? Like, okay, she's surprised. So basically she didn't know. She may have tipped. Where's that money going?
According, I don't know, but according from what I read, I think in the article, if I'm not mistaken, she did tip, and actually Uber Eats refunded her tip because it was the robot delivering.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So even if the tip would have maybe went to the it won't go to the restaurant. It'll just come back to the customer.
Or is this the wave of no tip customers going forward?
You're gonna have this slow robot that may show up when it feels like it because you didn't tip. That could be possible too.
I'm not inherently against the idea of the robots if they're only used for non-tipping orders, but you know, I guess there's also a problem with my logic on that one, because if people know that they don't have to tip, they know they could save a few bucks. You know, why wouldn't they choose the robot?
Yeah.
I guess, but you know, it's interesting. I think it was, what was I reading? I haven't ordered DoorDash or Uber Eats in a really long time, but I think it was DoorDash now actually has the verbiage, if you change the tip to 0. I don't know whether you guys order from DoorDash, but supposedly it actually says you're at risk or something to that of your order arriving later than normal, so on and so forth. So it'd be interesting if it's like the same concept with Uber Eats with robots, whether it would combat them getting their food on time, which then why wouldn't you use the robot at that point to save the tip if you're that type of customer?
Yeah, I think, and I have seen screenshots of that, which I think, it's definitely not a bad thing. Hey, let you know this may take longer because you decided not to put in any kind of tip. But I think in terms of the robots, they're going to try to continue to maximize, or at least make this as efficient as possible. They're not there yet, but eventually they will. I mean, I think it goes into the idea of saving money. You don't want to deal with gig workers complaining about pay. The robot's not going to complain about the pay. Let's get this working. But the skills of that robot is still like a Roomba. Roombas aren't, still bumping into things. They get stuck in certain situations. So they're not there yet. So that is also a positive. But I think eventually the time is going to come where it's at least efficient enough to get some of the orders out.
So
Sergi says, why is that general pronoun specific?
They open her up, but
So I'm not sure if that was just her saying, okay, well, this robot's a chick robot or what, but I wouldn't put it past them to be like, hey, this robot's name is Sheila and this is Jason and this is Delilah, right?
Yeah.
Like, to make them less creepy with those little beady eyes they got going.
I have something even to dive like a little further into this. So obviously Uber Eats has to pay this robotic company a pretty hefty, I'm assuming, fee to use their robots in, their system or whatever areas they put them in. So are they charging customers a different type of fee to be using the robots to make up for the money that they have to dish out for these robots?
That's an interesting question.
I don't know the answer to that question, but now
I don't know either, but it's just something I was thinking about as we were talking about it, because they have to pay for it somehow.
If anybody in the chat or the replay has ordered food and ended up getting it from a robot, do me a favor and email me, Zach@RideShareGuy.com, and let us know if you were charged an extra fee. I'd love to get to the bottom of that, because that's a good question, Dan. That's a really good question.
Because if you really think, where's Uber getting the money for these? It has to come from somewhere, so it's going to have to
Well,
probably come from the customer, I would assume.
true, but on the flip side of that, they're also sparing the base pay, right? Because they're still going to charge the customer the fees, but they're not
Right.
having to pay the base pay to a driver anymore, even if it is only like 16 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised in the I guess this partnership with Serve Robotics,
Mhm.
200 restaurants are participating. So
Yeah.
there are people getting the robot orders. It's interesting. I would like to what Zach said, know what how the math come together.
Yeah. So, one thing that would be a benefit to these robots, though, is we could never have customers claiming that we ate half their food.
It's coming.
Okay.
It was just a little delayed. I'm like, it's delayed. It's delayed. It's not coming
Technical
up.
difficulties.
I know, it is technical difficulties.
Hey,
There we
there we
go.
go. So, all right. We have a customer who claims that the driver brought her a half-eaten meal. Kim, why don't you go ahead and read that text exchange? I think it should be on the next slide.
Yep. So it says, well, it's just the regular DoorDash verbiage that you normally get. And it says, I want a new one. It was half eaten. So the driver says, I'm sorry, which order is this for? If the order was half eaten, then DoorDash needs to be contacted for a refund from the store. I can assure you no orders were opened by the Dasher. So the customer says, well, it was. So am I going to get a new one? So the Dasher says, where was your order from? I make a lot of orders, so I'm not sure what customer this is. And then she says the customer's name.
So let's
So I
unpack
would
that
say,
a
so
little
what would you
bit.
do?
So right off the bat, really quick, I want to tell a story that allegedly happened in my market. So, and this was reported on by Newsweek. So, keep that in mind. So, a person got upvoted, tens of thousands of times on Reddit because they posted a picture of a Dairy Queen burger with a big ass bite taken out of it, saying that Uber Eats had delivered it that way. And so, reading through this Newsweek article that covered this story, it made the point that they had gotten their order at about 6:30 a.m. or something like that in the morning, right? A.m. And
A
I'm thinking to
burger in
myself,
the morning?
right? And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. There's 2 Dairy Queens in my city, and neither one of them open until like 9. So that's a little strange. Anyway, just kind of reminded me of that. Do you guys think that this actually happened, first of all? What do you think, Hannibal?
No, I think she wants free food.
Yeah, no picture, no outrage. It just seems like, oh, just a half eaten. So I should just get another meal. Like that's a big deal and if we've seen some pictures, again, it's hard to believe it when you see a TikTok or, Instagram reel of someone with a messed up meal or a pizza where some slices are missing. Things happen, like mistakes do happen where things are getting labeled wrong, but no, this seems like a person is trying to get over. And I've experienced that where you get a call saying the food wasn't the wrong house. I'm over here. And a lot of times I kind of shut it down and I'll just go straight to support and explain my situation rather than trying to talk to someone that I don't know about this situation. I always, all right, this is what this person is telling me. This is where I put the food. I'm not communicating anymore because especially if it's a fishy kind of weird situation like that, I go straight to support and talk to them about it.
We are under no obligation to communicate with our customers after something is delivered. So I really think that should be the best approach when the customer contacts us after a delivery. Like, unless we legitimately made a mistake, we're like, oh yeah, okay, well, I actually did do that, or oh yeah, I really didn't do that. If you're close enough, rectify the situation. But in the event that you have a customer, hey, you forgot this, that, and the other, I just ignore them. Like, okay, like I don't have a refund button, so I just let it go to voicemail.
If the customer was this upset, or like if a customer is irate and upset, they're not going to contact the DoorDash driver to give me more food. Like, you're going to go to support and say, and go off on support that this dasher gave me half-eaten
Absolutely.
food. They had this. Like, what are you going to do for me? Like, they're not going to go off on a driver. I mean, what they can, but most likely their first, at least my instinct, if something was wrong with my order, I'm calling support and I'm going to get whatever I can from support. A DoorDash driver is not going to give me anything for free. So why would you even go that route? But
Well,
yeah,
I think part of the problem though is the customers don't really know how this works. They just know that they place an order and somebody shows up with it. They don't know who does the refunds, who's responsible for what. So, I mean, that's probably why a lot of customers do contact us when it's like legitimate. But I mean, sure, to Hannibal's point, I've had customers call me as well after delivery. When I was a little more green, saying,
Right.
"Hey, something's missing," or whatever the case may be. So I quickly learned to just stop answering.
Yeah, it's not worth it, and it's outside your control when you didn't go in the bag or do anything to tamper with it. It's like I didn't put this together. And also, if I ate half of your meal, why you want me to give you another one? Like, you go get somebody, right? Like, hey, like, why contact me to get another meal if you think I ate it or whatever the issue is? Like, if I've had experiences where to get something delivered and it wasn't pristine and in the best shape, I wouldn't get the same guy or the same girl. Like, get somebody else to do this. So that is an interesting, funny story. Yeah.
Go back to the store, get me another one, and tell me how the chocolate shakes taste.
Yeah, right. So,
like
what's the point?
Can we
maybe you'll get the other half of the eaten one. So if one's half eaten, the other one gets half eaten, they get a whole one. Is that how it works? Did my math right
use
on
the
that
50%
one?
off coupon. Can we put up Timothy's comment real quick? It's too good not to put that up or to eat too.
That's a good. That may actually work. I don't know if Disney would sue or anything, but that's kind of cool. Right?
That's what, instead of naming them something goofy like Delilah, that's what they should name it. R2-eat-2.
Yeah.
Johnny 5.
There you go. What do they call that? What do they call the car and the you know what? Screw it. I don't even remember the movie name.
The movie.
Also, now I want to know what it is.
The Dukes of Hazzard. What's the car in that movie?
Generally,
that's right.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Can you imagine
I think you're talking about
Lee?
another robot car like Knight Rider or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Or like the Love Bug, Herbie.
Yeah. Oh, you go way back, Kim.
Did I just completely date myself on that one?
That's fine. It's fine. I remember it, so I'm with you.
What was the Scooby-Doo van called?
The mystery van.
Yeah.
The mystery van. Okay, yeah. Maybe they should start calling them the mystery van. Maybe it'll show up on time. Maybe it won't.
Maybe it won't. You didn't tip, so this is what you get. I think that's a good idea. To get the no tipper as the robot treatment.
Yeah,
I like that.
Let them roll the dice. Like, hey, it might get there on time. It might get pissed on by a dog. We don't know.
You don't know.
Might get kicked a couple of times.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't deal with customers, especially if I think that they're scamming. So they can deal with support, and then I can defend myself to support later if I need to.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna put up. So Timothy said we had a robot test market at a local university. 5 units, 3 broke down in the first week. 1 got dressed up. I'm not going to say the fraternity prank. And the last one ended up in a lake. There you go. That's where your order is.
1 got dressed up like a hoe. There you go. I'll say it. That's too good.
College campuses, I mean, we've always experienced, being in one. They will do stuff to anything, living animals, all types of stuff, right? Like,
It's because college kids live drunk.
Have you ever seen that video of, I'm assuming it's a bunch of fraternity brothers. They're all dressed up as minions with the one leader like up on the deck. Tonight, we're going to go and ruin my brother's first date. And they all like freak out and and like there's just, the video just cuts to all these minions like running into this public park and like lighting this guy up with like ping pong ball guns. And it reminds me of that. Like, can you imagine a bunch of drunk frat bros like trying to like chase down and wrestle one of these robots? Like,
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Silicon Valley Steve
Where's
Irwin.
the TikTok on that one?
Oh, that would be too funny. I'd love
It's
to put that on
coming.
the
Trust
show.
me. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
So I'm curious, do you think that these robots could ever get themselves contract violations?
Oh, that was a good one.
Yes.
Sorry,
I mean,
it's
I mean,
delayed
'cause, like-
tonight. I don't like it's delayed tonight.
Because really, at the end of the day, this would be no different than a driver, right? Not delivering the order. Like, there's no guarantee that robot's going to make it either.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kim, you want to pop it over one more?
Yep. Sorry. Ah. Go for it. Okay, so this poor Doordash driver says, I have no words. How would I know his soda is the wrong flavor of brown? So, edit. I should probably explain. I saw a contract violation for the wrong order delivered. I called support and told them to look at the photo. Clearly, it's the right order. The agent then told me that he sees that it wasn't that I delivered the wrong order. It was the drink that was wrong, and that the contract violation was auto-generated. So he got a contract violation for the wrong drink.
Wow.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Can you
I-
imagine getting a
that's-
contract? I would be fighting that. I get feisty when it comes to, well, I've only had 2 contract violations. One, I didn't fight. The second one, I fought and I won because I got feisty. I'm like, oh, no, it's not going to happen.
Hannibal, have you ever gotten a contract violation?
Yes. One, definitely my fault. I think I signed on for DoorDash, and this is again back in the day, a little green, but I had Uber Eats first and had DoorDash, and I was trying to be greedy and take orders and thought I was going to be able to figure it out, and I was late. And one was I delivered, they said they didn't get it, and I have a feeling that maybe someone did take it because I left it in an area where there was other people on the block hanging out, so it's possible, or it could have been the customer line. I'm not sure, but there are those 2 distinct times I had a contract violation. Kind of annoying, but yeah.
So I am.
So
Go ahead.
just real quick, I just want to read Ricky Moss said, will they hand out contract violations to these robots? Half hour late is pretty darn substantial.
Hey, that would get us a
No.
contract violation.
No, just probably a credit.
Yeah.
Probably a credit. That's what they do for anything. Like that's what problem with the customers. They know if you complain enough, you will get money back.
Yeah.
And then where does money coming from? But that's a whole different conversation. But yeah.
So I am the odd man out here. I've been at this for about 3 years, and I've yet to get a contract violation. Now watch.
Really?
Knock on
yeah.
wood.
Knock on
I'll tell you what, though. Yeah, I'm probably going to get one tomorrow now. But 3 years in, and I've actually never gotten one. I'm exceedingly careful. I always take pictures of addresses, apartment numbers, building numbers, whatever is relevant. So I definitely try to see why away. But
Mine wasn't even customer related. Mine was the one that I got 2. One was for the town I deliver in. There's a train station, and Hannibal, you'll appreciate that. There are commuter trains, so going in and out of New York City. So it was Cinco de Mayo 2 years ago, and one was coming in, one was going out, and they took forever. I guess because it was Cinco de Mayo and tons of people were coming in and out of the city. I got stuck, and I didn't look at the time because usually they give you plenty of time. I get to finally it was Chipotle, and I got it delivered, and I get a contract violation for being late to the restaurant. I tried to explain the whole train thing, and yeah, no, it's stuck. But the second time, I got an order, and when I got it, I was literally 10 minutes away from the restaurant, and they said that I had to be at the restaurant in 1 minute. So normally DoorDash updates that stuff. This time they didn't, and they gave me a contract violation for being late to the restaurant, even though it was their fault. That one I fought and won and got it removed.
Nice.
So-
Nice.
this kind of goes to show, though, it was a programming error, in my opinion, that led to this contract violation for this driver. Like, this is a mistake that could have happened to any one of us, right? Like, I mean, like, as off-colored as their opening sentence sounded, it's true, right? Like, you can't just look at a color and know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
It's one thing if they order a Sprite and it comes out the color of Coke or Pepsi, right? You're like,
Right.
oh, that's wrong.
Or you order a
But if they
milkshake
order-
out of soda or something to that effect, but
Right.
that's
So,
crazy.
I mean, what are we supposed to be doing? Like, taking a little sip and it's like
This tastes like
Van said,
Pepsi, not Coke.
yeah, no tip. I take a sip, something like that.
Oh no.
Don't
I
do
don't
that,
know.
folks.
I still think all this stuff kind of lies on the restaurant, not anything food related, drinks, food related to me lies on the restaurant, not the driver. I think a lot of these contract violations, at least in my case, the two that I did receive were AI generated because it was instantly, as soon as the order was done, contract violation generated on my account. So I think that they're specifically looking for things, and AI just automatically generates them without even blinking an eye and taking the emotion out of it.
Part of the problem with that, though, is we're frequently not given enough information to fight them when we do get one.
No.
So, I mean, there's really, this is so out of left field, right? Like, no driver is going to anticipate this coming. So, I mean, how are we ever supposed to protect ourselves from that?
Well, in my case, because they got generated immediately, I knew the order and I knew exactly what happened. Like the second case, like I was not. I went through, I can't tell you how many support agents, and finally, like, I went all the way through to the supervisor because I'm like, no. Like, I was literally a pit bull. I mean, I was a very respectful pit bull, but I was a pit bull when I'm like, no, you're removing this like now. And I had to go through a whole bunch of people, finally got to the supervisor. I actually sent them an email with all the timestamps of my photos, and they removed it. So, if you don't think you're in the wrong, go through support and fight for contract violations, and don't let them stick if you're not in the wrong. That's the only thing I'm going to say.
And then and most won't do what you've done. They just take it and kind of move on and hope it, after 100 deliveries, it kind of gets removed and that type of thing. But it's important, because your income is based on not getting these too many of them at the same time, because you may get deactivated.
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
The one I did took me 7, I think, days to get rid of it, because I usually do about 100 DoorDash deliveries in a week. But if you're doing this part-time, do you know how long it takes for someone part-time to get rid of 100 deliveries? Like, that's a really long time to be sitting on a contract violation.
It would take me a few months to get rid of that. Just my like Spark and Uber Eats ratio versus DoorDash, it would take me 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool. So, Kim, to kind of elaborate on what you said earlier, fight it out with support. Like, absolutely, Hannibal's right. It's our livelihood. It's our income, right? Like, you don't want that hanging over your head. And part of the problem with support is they're very limited in their scope. So if the support representative you get on the phone doesn't seem that they're willing to help you, it's probably just the fact that they're not able to. So escalate the call, ask for a manager, turn into a Karen. It's worth it.
Oh, I was a Karen. I'm not gonna lie. I was a Karen. For once in my life, I was totally a Karen. I was that person. A respectful Karen, but a Karen.
What does that sound like, though? I'm curious. I can't picture you as a Karen.
I can't. I'm not gonna impersonate myself.
All right.
Yeah.
But I was very adamant. I can tell you. I'm like, I got a contract violation. This is what happened. I need it to be removed today. Basically.
Yeah. So, and one more thing on this subject, at least for me, support is just that. It's support. They are there to support us. They are not the authority. Like, it's not their word is final, right? We can tell them no just as easily as they can tell us no. So always remember that. If you don't like what support says, get somebody else on the phone.
And they'll read you a script too.
Good
don't
point.
worry.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where when I call support, it's because it's either to cover my own ass or because it directly affects my money. And when I'm put in one of those positions, I'm not in a good mood. And so there's been a few times where I'm just like, and do me a favor, for both of our sake, don't read me a script.
Yeah. I can probably sometimes when they get on the phone, like, do you guys like sometimes find yourself going, okay, they're going to say this now. Okay, I can
Mhm.
probably say they're going to say blah, 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 blah. And you can like literally
Yeah.
do it
Apologize
verbatim
for the
exactly.
inconvenience and yeah.
Yeah. So I can pretty much play out an entire conversation with Uber Eats, at least when I get tip-baited. So I've had that conversation far too many times. So we were sent an article by Sergio that I found very interesting. So before we get too far into this, I want to make it clear the scope of this is not out there in the public domain. For all I know, this could be one manager making people's lives hard. So take it with a grain of salt, but let's talk about it.
So there was an there was an article that DoorDash is now banning discussion of work issues and during the workplace, and this actually goes back to their offices in Arizona, I believe it was, and they actually fired a worker for organizing outside of work to talk about work related incidents that are happening in the work environment. So it's a pretty, to me, when I was reading this, it was a pretty serious thing. DoorDash Inc. has been accused of illegally prohibiting office employees from discussing work conditions, and they fired one because of their organizing efforts. The National Labor Relations Board alleges that the food delivery company threatened to punish staff in Arizona if they took collective action and told them it was illegal to discuss worker conditions on their days off. Well, that's illegal all in itself. I was in HR for years. Like that's illegal itself.
Wow.
The National Labor Board Relations also alleges that DoorDash engaged in illegal interrogations and surveillance of employees' workplace activism and terminated an employee because they formed an organization, the Service Desk Analyst Group, to address working conditions there. It sounds like a Facebook group to me, but that's just me. The complaint was filed on May 30th, and it is it's the first one the agency has filed against a decade-old company. The complaint accuses DoorDash of interfering with restraining and coercing employees in exercising the rights guaranteed under federal law.
Wow.
So that's a fairly substantial claim to be made. And again, we don't know if it's, one or two managers or how wide the scope of that is. And at this point, it is an allegation that's been made. So this isn't like a, smoking gun. We've got video proof, anything like that. So please take it for what it is. But I found this interesting. It's also worth noting that this is their W-2 employees. This has nothing to do with the drivers.
No.
So what do you guys make of this?
I have a problem, and I think I just said it, but I'll say it again. I was in HR for a couple of years, and you can't regulate what employee does on their own time unless it is social media. So if this was posted on like Facebook, Instagram, anything related to social media, then that does go and violates company policies, because then you're talking in a social forum outside of work, and then that goes against policies. But anyway, if they're just, I'm making this up, hanging at a bar and talking about work and they're calling it the whatever group, like that's they can't do that. So I don't know.
I worked for a major telecommunications company for a couple of years when I was younger, and they had a policy where you were not allowed to do anything work related on your days off. They said that if you're working, you need to be compensated, and you're not being compensated on your days off. So this kind of reminds me of that. So I wonder if they're kind of trying to take that approach.
I don't know. I think Chad possibly has a good point. Some disgruntled employees trying to get revenge. There are disgruntled employees out there. I've dealt with many of them as well. Yeah, you fire one for one thing and they go and do something else because they're disgruntled because they got fired. So it is a fine line. Once again, this is allegations that's not proven yet, but someone went to the trouble of going to a to a labor board to report this,
and they thought it was substantial enough to actually file a formal complaint. So again, it doesn't mean it necessarily happened, but there's an entire ass group that thinks this was valid enough to proceed. So I'm that guy that an employer is never going to this is why I can't work a traditional job ever again, because I can't have somebody tell me you will do this, you won't do that, right? On my own time.
Yeah.
No way.
This is fascinating. If there's smoke, then there's going to be fire. So this, being on Bloomberg, kind of being passed around a little bit, because I've seen this a couple of days ago as well. If there's an issue with the workplace at this local or this area with the DoorDash company, more people. This is what happens when more people start to speak up and say this is actually a legit issue. That's why we're even organizing. There's problems here. So we'll see if that's actually happening. Of course, DoorDash, just like they don't want any kind of union. Like, why would you don't want your company being taken? I mean, imagine if you're a CEO of a company, you build it from the basement. It's really successful, and all of a sudden the workers are like, we're going to group together and we're going to not work if you don't give us our demands. And you'll probably like, hey, what are you talking about? Even though there needs to be that back and forth with, what workers need to be compensated fairly. And UPS finally got, I guess, Teamsters. They finally got a contract together. I think it happened today, because they were going to go on strike by the end of this month. So UPS was kind of hamstrung by the Teamsters. They're like, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to launch the largest labor strike in U.S. history. And UPS was like, you can't do that. So certain things like that, DoorDash probably wants to be aggressive, but they can't be doing illegal things, because that's going to be a big problem. So I'll interested to see what happens in the next couple of weeks with this.
For sure. And folks, just a reminder, please keep the chat respectful.
Yeah. We're a family-friendly show, minus the cursing every once in a while.
Except for Zach.
Zach, that wasn't directed towards you.
Well, I'm the only one who does it.
Every once in a while it'll slip out of me, but
maybe once I've ever heard that. I don't know. So let's jump back to this for a minute. I have a major problem with. I recently learned that Chick-fil-A tells their employees what color hair they can and can't have, right? And as much as I'm not personally a fan of pink or purple hair on somebody, right? I don't think that an employer ever has the right to tell somebody what they can and can't do with their body. So that's just my 2 cents.
I'm not sure if you guys are near AMC theaters. I think it's a national thing. Am I here? Okay.
Yeah,
we've got it.
I don't know if. Hold on a second. I'm having some connection issues. Give me a second. Okay. Am I good?
You're good.
Yeah, seem to be.
Okay, cool. I was getting buffering.
I'm like, you were still there for a second. I'm like, are you really good? Did we lose him?
I think we might have. He moved.
Okay.
Still there, man?
Okay. Still there. Gotcha.
Okay. So AMC.
Yeah. So this happened a long time ago, like a long time ago. But to work there, making all right, minimum wage was $7.25. So this is how long that was. You couldn't have your hair long enough to go past your collar. So
really?
You couldn't have visible tattoos. Definitely no colored hair. So I worked there for a little while, and at one point, I was growing my dreads, and it was getting past the collar, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to take care of that." And I'm like, "For $7.25 an hour? I'm not cutting my hair for seven." Now $70,000 a year. All right, well, I'll talk about it. But minimum wage.
Yeah.
I quit this next day. I'm like, this is stupid. So yeah,
Yeah.
companies they can be really aggressive with how they want everything to look. But yeah, that was a wild experience.
I wonder
it should
if
be interesting. As I say, it should be interesting what they are talking about with their working conditions. That I want to know more about, because there you always say there's always two sides of the story, right? You have the A and B, and somewhere in the middle is C. But what was the working conditions that they were discussing that they needed to form a group to talk about these working conditions? To me, that's the underlining thing to me in this whole entire article, because that's something that we don't know about, but it was enough for these people to talk about it. So it should be interesting to see what the allegations are with their working conditions.
we should definitely keep an eye on that moving forward. That's a very valid point. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe they're capable of it, but yeah, I mean, I want to see the smoking gun.
Definitely. And also as a W-2 employee, there's been many times I've went to a bar with a bunch of my coworkers and complained about working, how terrible it is, and how the manager sucks and the boss sucks. We never really say, well, we need to make a group about and do anything about it. But because you want to complain, and sometimes I'm not working, I'm complaining about work with in the W-2 world. So yeah, well, like I said, we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that I do have to say, Uber or DoorDash, excuse me, doesn't send drivers quite as many miles as Uber does. So kind of a weak transition, but Kim, let's get that one going. It sounded better in my head. It just
I'm
didn't
like,
pan
they
out.
all can't be winners. It's all good.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and read this one off for us as well?
Yeah, so it's would you go the extra mile? So this Uber Eats driver took an order. I don't have the order itself, but it had to be quite a distance, because when he took it and he delivered it, he actually got this message from the customer, and I'm actually going to pop it up on the screen. It actually says, updated the tip to $50. Just realized the restaurant is about 10 minutes from where we live and don't want to mess up your earning potential for the night. Thank you, man. So this customer was awesome. I'll say that. So it kind of sparked this next topic is, are some long distance orders worth taking? Granted, not every one of them will lead to a $50 tip. I truly believe in taking orders at face value, me personally, but could they still be worth your time if you pick them correctly?
No.
You say no?
No.
What?
This is a unicorn, straight up. I mean, like, I'm willing to bet that the guy delivered to another driver, and that's why he was like, hey, here's an extra $50. So more often than not, if you're taking those long orders, customers are not going to compensate you more.
Some of my best orders are longer distance miles. I
mean, maybe back when Grubhub was still popping, yes, but that's largely not been the case anymore.
Not that it was super long. Tonight I did a 7.7 mile order, I believe it was, and it turned into $69. So some of my best orders are longer distance, especially if they're highway miles. If they're highway miles and you can go 60, 70 miles an hour, they're quicker than some of your regular city miles or country miles. Sure. They're quicker. You get more money because, well, not so much DoorDash, but sometimes DoorDash, but majority of it is Uber Eats. They'll compensate you a lot of times for a longer distance order on your base pay. So if you can get a really good customer who spends a lot, tips a lot, plus a better base pay, you can get some really good orders off of some longer distance miles.
I mean, I'm going to go with Zach on this one, but with Kim, the idea that she has experimented and done the science with her area where she's confident that she could take a long distance order and it will benefit. But
Sure.
me being in Brooklyn is about not necessarily distance, but time. So I can't necessarily take that risk of going super far away, because then unless it's somewhere where I can get a good order as well, it may not turn out well. But it's good to experiment, right? I mean, Zach, I'm sure you took a long distance order to see what happens and you realize that was a waste of time. But at least have that reference to see if it worked, because like you said, Kim found out that her system works. So it's all about at least experimenting where you live.
So I want to jump into the funnies, if we could do that, Kim.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, coming.
No worries. Sorry, I'm kind of throwing a curveball at you here.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm like, sorry.
No, it's okay. So this was a post that a driver made. Saw this while dashing. It says, "I'm an asshole. Not running anything. Not running for anything. I just wanted a sign." So that's a cool sign. I would love that. I'd love to, put that on my bumper, as a bumper sticker, something like that. That's cool.
I thought this
You're
was
not taking
hilarious.
themselves too seriously. That's kind of like everyone. I feel like everyone is taking themselves so seriously nowadays. It's nice to have someone just goofing off a little bit.
There was the last presidential election, probably about a year before it. There was a sign someone had on when I was delivering that says any candidate will do except the people who are running.
Yeah. I remember the giant meteor ones, giant meteor like 2020 or whatever it was. Yeah. I think we've got another one in here, right?
Yep.
All right. Why don't you actually, you know what? I got this one.
Okay.
So it's a leave it at the door. It says, the instructions say, "I have a dog and a newborn, so do not knock on the door. By sending me a photo and hitting done notifies me plenty. If you haven't figured this out yet, quit and find a new job. It's simple common sense. Place food not directly in front of the door. Door can't open if food is blocking. Defeats purpose. In the nicest way possible. If this is a hard concept to follow, go to Indeed.com and start again." If I'm reading this, I'm calling support to unassign me from the order. This is just malicious. There's no need for that.
If there are any new drivers watching this out there, always go in. At least this is what I do. I always go in to see where the customer's address is and read leave at door instructions. So if I see something like this, I'll be like, yeah, no, not happening. I have a customer. I made the mistake once and now I know it just by looking in the map. That's who it is. But something similar to this, and I'm like, I'll never take the order again. So always look at your leave at door notes before you proceed any further with your delivery.
Yeah,
that is always good advice.
I think the problem with this, the person worded it in the most condescending, aggressive, passive-aggressive fashion possible. But I'm assuming this person had several bad situations. So she's already in a negative mind space. So I probably would avoid the order too, because you don't want to deal with someone who already is expecting the worst out of the delivery system, right? The whole thing, like if you had that many bad experiences, you probably should find another way of getting the food. If all the drivers are doing what you're saying, not following instructions, because that note, a good driver that's reading it may not want to deal with that. Don't want to maybe accidentally knock over something, a dog barks, get a contract violation or something negative or tip. So you don't want to deal with people who are a little bit too nitpicky and a little bit too passive aggressive with their notes, because it shows, I think they're in a negative headspace, or at least a negative vibe. I don't know, but I don't want to deal with that.
I think it would have been funnier though if she left the link to Indeed, so they can just click on the link.
That's funny. Yeah, you don't want to deal with a person like that.
So yeah, she sounded like just total Karen. So it would have been a no for me.
Too jaded. Don't bother.
Yeah. So Hannibal, my apologies, man. I totally just jumped right into the topics tonight. We usually talk to our guest and get some more information about you and the channel. So where can people find you, man?
Well, my YouTube channel is called Hannibal is Hungry. So the name is right there. I've been on YouTube since 2020. Wow. Yeah, about 2020, talking about the gig economy. My first app I installed or downloaded was actually, well, the first gig economy app was Rover at this point 5 years ago. So I kind of knew and I was doing that while I was working my regular job. I knew the how cool working on your own was and be able to pick and choose jobs and stuff like that with dog walking, because that's my primary gig. But 2020, I'm in New York City. Everything got shut down. There was no dogs to walk. So I decided to join Uber Eats and just went online, as I guess, I don't know, most, at least for me, when I wanted to know what's going on with something that I'm doing, make money, I went online and saw a lot of people talking about Uber Eats, and I kind of jumped on in, and that's what I've been talking about different apps, different situations, some of the craziness of the gig economy I kind of embrace. So that's kind of my channel.
And your videos are really well put together too. They're well thought out. They're well edited, and they're just aesthetically pleasing to watch. And that's always a sign of somebody who's worth watching, in my opinion. So
appreciate it.
Yeah. So what made you decide to get into YouTube specifically?
Boredom. So I was locked down in 2020, like as everyone else was, and me and my friends we were on Zoom calls watching YouTube videos on how to create videos, and I never thought of, like, before this, I didn't know anything about cameras. I didn't know anything about editing. I learned all this during lockdown, where the only things I did was deliver food and learn how to make videos. So that was mainly it. And just watching other content creators. And I think, at the end of the day, I think I will want to do this full time, making videos, editing videos, and also still being an independent contractor. So I'm not interested in doing W-2 stuff. I need the freedom, I need the flexibility. So, but yeah, I really like communicating. Like I like putting out opinions out there. So, yeah, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I don't know if I'll be doing this, to be honest.
I think that's kind of, I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but I think we started almost the exact same time for like the exact same reason. I feel like a lot of YouTube channels were founded on pandemic times just for, well, I gotta find something else to do, or this will give me a hobby to start. I'll be honest, when I first started YouTube, I thought it was more like a social media type of thing. And then like once you really dive into it, you're like, you kind of get sucked in and like, oh, okay. And then you keep learning and learning and learning. And, one of the things I think Hannibal, like to your point, Zach, does fantastic on is his content is relative, it's informative, and it's fun to watch. So I'm a big fan of Hannibal's channel.
Appreciate it. I think my first video ever was me complaining about Uber Eats. So it was kind of the same thing. Like I was complaining about how, like, why is it so low? And then thinking, like, is this just me? And then I realized it's not just you. There's a lot of people who are going through the same thing. So yeah, it's a great community. I mean, in terms of YouTube and other niches and other topics, gig economy is extremely high engaging. Like people, for many different channels, you post something and it could be a little bit, not necessarily controversial, but you can say that controversial. A lot of people going in there, arguing sometimes, and it's all good because I think even different perspectives and different ideas. That's why it's great to have the conference and the town hall. It's great to have other people because we all want everyone to make as much money as possible, to be safe, to do the right thing so you can take care of your family. But we all have different ideas of how to get there. But it's still great to talk and express yourselves and maybe talk to someone you may not agree with because they may say something that may click in your head and be like, yeah, you know what? I understand what you're going through and I understand what you're saying. So that's why it's a really solid community here in the gig economy.
For sure. One thing that I really like about it personally is the community will tell you if they disagree with you.
Oh, yes.
And
they have no problem of doing that.
Roast you in the comments if they think you are off base on something. So it's like
they keep you honest, they keep you accountable.
Keep you humble.
Yes, that's a good one.
I've had people who have watched me for a year or something, just always been super supportive, and then like one video I drop with some weird opinion, they're like, "What the hell, Zach? No." So
it goes to the territory.
Very much so. So if you are just joining us, we're about wrapping up, but shout out again to our sponsor, Solo. If you guys want guaranteed earnings in the gig economy, check the link in the description. You will not be disappointed. Also, Kim, Hannibal, and myself are all going to be in Denver the first week of August. You guys want to elaborate on that for a second?
Sure.
Well, quickly, if you go to the website, it's gigworkerconference.com. You'll see the events Denver 2023. You'll see all of the details and all the links to grab some stuff. Obviously with Steve RideShare with his town hall. It's gonna if you haven't been around other gig workers, even ones that you've seen, in obviously content creators or even people in the chat, people who comment, if they're in the area, they're going to be there, and you're going to get some free swag. You're going to probably get some shirts. You're going to probably get some drinks, something to eat. Amazing companies. I mean, Solo going to be there. Bryce, amazing dude, and a lot of really helpful people who are looking to make gig work better. I think that's where the conference is about, and even in the town hall, we're trying to figure out how to make this better because the other companies are figuring out how to make more money. Right, DoorDash, Uber, they're trying to figure out how to make more money. We're trying to figure out how to make more money for ourselves. So I think it's a great community event to check out, and it's happening next week. It's crazy how fast everything's going.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, where's the summer going? That's what I keep saying. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like I feel like we were just talking and getting this all together that we were going just like a couple weeks ago, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, we're gonna see each other all. I know we're all gonna see each other in like a week.
So if
And
you
I'm
guys
like,
are in the
I'm
Denver
down for the
area,
free food.
heck yeah. If you guys are in the Denver area, check it out. You'll get to meet all of us. It's going to be a blast. So, Hannibal, thank you again so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to meeting you. And guys, go check out Hannibal's channel. He is an incredible watch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. We will see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.